So you're probably watching the last video and you were looking at the logic and you said 0 times and then whatever is always going to equal to 0. And you're probably thinking, why does the computer even have to go into these parentheses right here? Well, in reality, the computer doesn't actually go into these parentheses. It does the exact thing that you were thinking. It says, oh, it's 0 at the beginning and then 0 times anything after it is always going to be 0. So remember, computers are incredibly lazy. And what we're going to do is let's take a look at this inside of the code. So what I have here is I have a function. And it's going to return a value and also print a statement. So first it's going to receive a statement and print it, and then it's going to return the value that we give it. And as you can see, I've recreated that logical expression that we've been working on where it's going to return false. So we see false right here, but before it returns, it's going to print out first. And then inside the parentheses, we're going to have true or true. So we're going to have true or true just like this. And we're going to see that the computer is actually only going to call this function right here, seeing that it is false and there's an and, meaning a multiplication, it's going to stop there. We're not going to see it print out second or third. Let's check it out. There you go. So you can see the computer is incredibly lazy because it only has to make one functional call, recognizing that false also equaling 0 is going to be 0 times whatever, which is always going to be false. So what happens if we were to change this to an or? And remember, or is like addition, so it's a plus. Let's see the computer in action. And then now you can see here what the computer is going to do is it's going to say, okay, I have a 0 here and then it's going to be a plus rather than a multiplication. So now I have to go inside the parentheses to figure out the rest of the logical expression. Next thing it's going to see here is it's going to see that the first logical expression right here, what's being returned from this function, is a true value. So there's no real need to actually execute this last value right here because in reality, one of them has to be true for this whole thing to be true because it's 1 plus whatever. What it really needs to do is just calculate just the first function. If this is true, stops right there. So as you can see, the computer is incredibly lazy and it never actually has to make all three of these function calls. It's going to do as much work as it needs to then compute the output expected value.